Hey everybody, Scoutcrafter here again. We're down in the shop. We got another new edition. We're continuing saga of my Vise for Vices. And this one here is a Charles Parker. It's a 974 model. I guess it's dated in the 30s somewhat. I like these old Vices. This one here runs in at 65 pounds. Compared to my Monarch, it seems like this little Monarch. So we're going to try and clean this up. We're going to do a nice little restoration. What's nice about this vise, I don't think it was abused because it came from a government facility, as you can see here. This here, it says it's property of Defense Plant Corporation. Anyway, it was a United States government vise. And so what we're going to do is we're going to clean it up. We're going to, we're missing the wrench here that tightens it up. I think it's like a 13/16, but I was able to get one on eBay and they're hard to find. So let's see what we can do with this vise, with the jaws. We're going to see and clean it up and take it apart. You can see from the jaws here, these are smooth jaws. I don't think I have any vices with any smooth jaws, but it'll come in handy. I won't have to worry about impressions or if I clamp any wood or anything. There's some weld spatter on the jaws. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take my nice Nicholson file here, and we're going to get rid of some of that weld spatter. Well, we took out these rivets from the plate here, and when we removed the plate, we could see the color, the variance of color. Now, this obviously was painted once or twice, this vise, and it's starting to flake off, but I don't know if there was a gray, if this was a bit of a gray, this vise. I don't know what the original color was, but we're going to paint it up whatever color we like, and maybe we can highlight those letters. So we're going to start with the strip down. Okay, we're a few hours into the restoration, and how's this for a setup? It's a huge, heavy-duty. Look at this. This is about a 10-inch wire brush, very coarse. I have this set up. It's a temporary setup, and this way I clamp it to my bench, and it makes quick work of the heavy scale and rust removal. I use this. I was going to strip this down with paint remover, which I probably will for some of the big stuff, because it's so big, but I was able to handle this, and this came out really really nice. I got all the paint off of here and the tarnish and scale, so with this wire brush, and I took the jaws off. And let me tell you something, these jaws, I read online, these are kind of a pain to get off. They're tapered pins, okay? These are tapered pins, and you bang them out from underneath here, and bang, and I bent one of my punches. You got to use a big punch, and it's got to be a heavy-duty punch. These jaws are pretty beat up. So what we're going to do, you know, a replacement jaws cost more than a vise. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it to the 1-inch belt sander, and I'm going to try and reprofile this down just a little bit. Take about a 1/16 off, and hopefully get these in nice shape. This came out nice. The retention for the drive. This I did on the wire brush too, came out good. I'll polish that later. The only thing I have to wait on now is I don't have a socket that's 1 3/8 inch. 1 3/8 inch socket to separate the base from the top, and I'm gonna have to buy one. That's okay. I'll have it then. Okay, let's see what's going on. Until we can get that 1 3/8 socket tomorrow to take that bolt off to remove the base, we're trying to do a little bit of work that we would have to do anyway. So what we're doing, we have some paint stripper down here, and we're stripping some of the paint, especially around the letters. The letters are always a pain because that's where paint builds up, and it's a little hard to get to. Now what I did notice some yellow paint on the letters, so I don't know if this was factory yellowed or who knows what happens, but I'll show you in a couple minutes when this sets up. I'll show you how that comes out. Okay, it's been a few minutes, and you see we're using one of these steel wire brushes. And if you just go around in small circles, the paint will start to peel off, especially inside those letters. We do an up and down stroke, and then we do a left and right, and we do that back and forth. And we're going to do this until all this is cleared up. But you can see there's still a little bit around the U and the S, you know, USA. But you can see how much of that and how nice and clean those letters come out just from doing this. So the paint strip is always a good idea around the letters. For the base and everything like that, we'll use the wire brush. Okay, now you can see that this zip strip, paint strip, it does a really good job on, especially around the letters. But you know, with 70 years of paint and grease and everything, you're still using one of these little dental picks here, or anything. You can use a nail or anything, but you can see if you get in here, you could really get out the little bit of grease and grime and paint that goes between the letters, and just go around every letter, take out all that little gook. That's what makes your lettering really sharp on the side. And then afterwards, you could take your steel brush and you could run it around and make sure if there's anything else that you missed. The lettering on here will come out really good because you took the extra time to do that. Okay, we're ready for paint and polish. Right now we prepped all the surfaces. Everything is nice and clean. We wiped everything down with alcohol. We took off all the paint. This is interesting. This is the base, the swivel base for these Parkers, and with this particular model, it had some cast iron half moons that this bolt has an expanding nut on it, and when you tighten this down, it expands, and that's how this tightens up against the base. So that came out real good. Cleaned up the base, although this is the area here that the actual vise rides on, so we'll make sure not to get paint on that. Everything came out here nice. The vise looks really good. Lettering looks really good. Everything's clean. We took out the drive nut and put it back in. There was nothing really to say about this. We're going to polish this. We're going to sand down the jaws, and we're ready for our primer coat. Now that the vise is taped, and I used one of these floodlights and primed it, gave it a good coat of primer, and now what's happening is that floodlight is going to really dry that paint really well before we put the finish coat on. So all the pieces now have been primed. Well, the paint went off without a hitch. Warmed up the cans of paint. Now I'm making a little makeshift oven. Came out really nice, the paint. And we're going to let this bake under this hot light. And we'll let it bake for at least 12 hours before we even think of handling it. You know, enamel cures from the inside out, so let that get nice and hard. This is really the most enjoyable part, is the final assembly. We have a nice piece of 2x10 that we're going to mount it on. We're going to have to drill some holes for the mounting plate for the swivel base. The vise is all good. The jaws, look how that lines up, huh? How nice is that? Now we're just going to have to lubricate everything, grease everything. We got some white lithium grease, some special lube here. We have some anti-seize lubricant from Permatex. And we're going to put everything together, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, we are finished with the restoration or refurbishment of this beautiful vise. Again, it's a Charles Parker, model 974. You can see on the other side. It's patent 1930. The jaws came out really good. I remember what they look like, but what's interesting is that these jaws are smooth inside. I haven't seen that before, but they line up very nice. We did a little lettering on the side. This wrench here I was able to pick up on eBay. Polished it up, looks very nice. There's a little ring on here so that when you want to tighten it up, you can move it up, but you won't lose the wrench. They made them out, I think they were brass from the factory. The ring was missing obviously with the wrench, so I put an O-ring on there, works fine. Real happy with the way everything worked out. Everything's nice and greased. Everything works like the day it was made. A lot of satisfaction with restoring something that's this old and comes out this well. Just goes to the testament of American craftsmanship back in 80 years ago. So really beautiful vise. I know some of the purists might be saying that the color might be wrong, but I think that if Charles was alive, I think he would approve, because like the Ford Model Ts when they came out, Ford said you can have any color as long as it's black. But I think that this brick red looks really nice, really sets off the vise. Anyway, that's the restoration of this vise. We're going to be doing another one soon, and hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for tuning in, and take care. Have a nice day.